Hi everyone. Okay, I think we're live. Hello. I can see plenty of you joining. Wonderful. Hi everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, depending on where you might be. Um, Depending on from where you might be joining. Hello. Welcome. This is a super special live stream that we have on today for you. I am so excited. For those of you who have no idea who I am, I'm Louisa. I have the great honor of being one of Hobbie's live hosts. Some of you may have seen me hosting our bingo before, or our Facebook live shopping, or our quiz time. If you have, welcome back. If you haven't, welcome. It's lovely to meet you. So wonderful to have you all here. I can see hello, hi in the chat. I can see plenty of people. I can see people joining from Sweden. Amazing. This is a great, very exciting moment for Hobbii. We are today introducing you to one of our new collaborators, our new partner in crochet, as I like to call it. When this collaboration was announced, the entire office was abuzz, and this was such an extremely exciting opportunity for us. And so I am now so pleased to introduce you to our newest collaborator, Jonah Larson. Some of you, or many of you, may already know Jonah. If you don't, and this is your first introduction, amazing. I will add Jonah to the stream in just a second. I can see some people saying happy 40 in the chat. Not today. Happy 40 is not on today. It is, however, on next Tuesday for our live shopping. So more info on that to come. I'll just very quickly make sure I have everything set up. Yep, I needed to turn up my sound because I want to be able to hear Jonah when he joins us in a sec. I'm going to add him now, so please give him the warmest and sweetest Hobbii welcome, Jonah Larson from Jonah's Hands, who is our newest Hobbii collaborator. And let's just hope that I get this right and join our little live stream. I can see Alicia in the chat saying, I love Jonah Hands videos, amazing. Hi, Jonah. Good
Hello,
morning.
everyone.
We are so pleased to have you. I hope everything's well. I know you had finals this week. I hope everything went well with that.
Oh, it went well. It went well.
Amazing.
It's a little stressful at the start, but once you get through with it, it's so nice just to have the summer to yourself. And of course, I'm going to spend it working on my crochet.
Yeah, absolutely. Are you done with your exams now, or do you have some more to go?
I'm done with them now, so I have plenty of time to crochet and enjoy the summer, go on walks with my mom and my dogs, and spend time with my older brother now that he's back from college, and
Awesome.
just relax a little bit now.
Awesome.
Now the school year's over.
Yeah, awesome. I hope you have an amazing break, and I can't wait to see what you crochet during that time. So welcome, Jonah. Thank you so much for joining. And for all of our hopsters who may not have met you before, I thought, well, this little live is, I think, the perfect opportunity for them to get to know you. And of course, the people that have already met you before are excited to hear about this collaboration. Just for you all in the chat, I will keep an eye on the chat throughout the live. So any questions you have, we will try to answer towards the end. So just keep them going, and I'll just try to keep an eye out for all questions. So just so you know, we're not ignoring you on purpose. I am keeping an eye out. So Jonah, I think the perfect start, I suppose, for everyone who hasn't met you before would be to maybe introduce yourself, tell them a little bit about yourself, like who you are.
But most importantly, I would say that, I'm my mother's son. I'm a brother. Um, and I love the crochet, but I also, um, in partnership with my mom and, thousands of my crochet friends, I love to give back. Um, but there's a lot more to my story than that, and I think we'll get into that later on in this live.
Yeah, I think we will. You've already, obviously, we've talked a little bit about crocheting, so I think that's, I guess, the natural entry point for this conversation would be to tell us a little bit about how did you get into crocheting, how long have you been at it, what's been your crochet journey?
Well, I'm 16 years old now, so I started to crochet when I was 5 years old. And to put that into perspective, I don't really have many memories of a time when I wasn't crocheting, and that's 11 years ago. And it all started when my aunt, she loves the craft, whether that's sewing, quilting, and a lot of things, but surprisingly, she doesn't crochet. But besides that, so she brought over a bag of craft supplies, as she regularly does, to our house. So I went through it with my sister and my older brother, and we were looking for anything that we could make just for fun. And, I found this shiny metal tool. So I grabbed it and I ran to my mom and I was like, what can I make with this? What can I do? And then she found me a YouTube tutorial and I begun to make a dishcloth. And I didn't know at the time that I was really good at this skill and I had a knack for it. And it just clicked. And I begun to just improve my skill by moving forward onto the next tutorial. And I just, started with the dishcloth and then made the scarf and then the hat, which had the decreasing. And then I just moved up one stage at a time. And that's how I continued forward with my crochet and improving my level of crochet as well.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. Were you, well, I suppose if you were 5 years old, but did you have a lot of like creative inclination before that as well? So it was very natural for you to just that urge to create?
Surprisingly, I'd never really done something of that nature before, but I'd always had like a really busy mind. I'd always been like, in a way, all over the place. Like, I'd always wanted to do something with my hands, like whether that's drawing or painting or just kind of always be wanting to do something. And when I found crochet, that repetitive motion of the hook and the yarn and just being able to make those stitches and have a finished project at the end, I found that that was extremely calming and that the gratification at the end, it was an amazing experience. And I've really enjoyed that even now as I've 16 and I've just stuck with it for that reason as well as many others.
Yeah. I imagine that a lot of crocheters, myself included, very much see themselves in that sentiment as well of like that really like sort of nice just output to have with your hands and just to craft something, yeah, with your own hands. And speaking of your hands, I suppose, because you not only found your love for crochet, but you actually turned that into a business and into a whole crochet community. So Jonah's Hands, of course. Would you like to tell us a little bit about that?
I would like to tell you a little bit about that, but before I go any further, I want to make something clear. So it is called Jonah's Hands, and it's called that because that's the name my dad came up with, and we started that business in 2019. And when I say we, that is a combination of my mom and I. I do the crocheting with my hands, so that's why it's called Jonah's Hands. But it would not be possible without my mom. My mom is the president of Jonah's Hands. She helps me with all the orders. She pretty much does everything. I could not do it without her. She helps me with all the social media. She helps me keep myself in check. She helps me with my schedule. Um, she helps me with the business side of everything, with um, pretty much every aspect that I think of. My mom's there and helping me along. Because when it comes down to it, I really couldn't keep myself straight without her. So thank you, Mom, if you're watching this.
Yeah,
And
big love.
now back to the actual business. So what we do is we have my website, jonahhands.com, where occasionally I'll sell my handmade items if you're lucky. And then I have my books, um, the autobiography, and then a pattern book for some items that are great to give to charity. And then I also have pictures of the kids in Ethiopia receiving books from their library, and then pictures of the finished science lab and restrooms for the female students, and then videos of my TV appearances, and then a CD of instructions for beginning crocheters, and a bunch of other things that you'll be able to check out. But then we also have just a variety of other accessories and t-shirts and things of that nature that are just good for crocheters and knitters as
Yeah.
well. The whole fiber art community.
It's a great place. I've been on your website, of course, a lot also in preparation for this. It's just, I think, a very wholesome and great space to find sort of that love, to celebrate that love for crochet and that love for crafting. So you've already mentioned Ethiopia, because of course it's not just a business, it's actually you do a lot of philanthropy. Your whole mission is very centered around giving back to your community as well. Would you like to talk a little bit about that as well?
Yeah, so before I talk about my philanthropy, I'd like to give a little bit of background just in case you don't know my birth story. I'll make it brief though, so I can talk about my philanthropy. So I was born in Ethiopia before my lovely parents adopted me, and I was abandoned under a banana tree. But they came to get me about 6 months later. And anyway, the area where I was adopted from is very not well off, I'll put it. They didn't have a library, a science lab, or adequate restrooms. And anyway, my parents have always told me this, and I've been aware of this from a very young age. And they've always taught me to give back and instilled that principle in me. And they've always been there to help me do that as well. So, with my parents and with Roots Ethiopia and thousands of my crochet and knitting friends, I've been able to give them a library that services over 2,000 students that has 3,000 books, and a fully equipped science lab with goggles, microscopes, and the instructor of the science lab has an award from the federal government of Ethiopia. And then we also gave the female students a new set of restrooms to keep up their attendance. And then just pretty recently, we fully equipped their soccer team with new uniforms, goals, soccer balls, and cleats. And then the last thing that we did was give their school 75 desks and about 8 to 12 pounds of pencils. And now we're moving on to their high school.
That is incredible. It is genuinely like genuinely amazing. What you've been able to put up, well, in collaboration with, I can see Roots Ethiopia just commented on the live saying that they love working with you. So I think it's a genuinely such an inspiring story, and also such just incredible that you've set up this at your age already, and that you're so connected to, yeah, your roots and your community, but also your family. And it's a wonderful system, wonderful story. I can see a lot of people on the chat are also very rightfully so impressed. I think we've mentioned crochet, and we've mentioned sort of your work, and I think a few people in the chat were asking, and we actually got this question beforehand as well. I'm going to double this up. Some people were asking if you also knit, and then the other question was sort of leaning into that. Other than sort of crochet, what are some other like hobbies of yours or passions of yours?
I can knit. I find that it is, I'll rephrase that. So I am able to knit, and I actually knit more when I was younger. Here's an example of a project that I made that I still have today, and I was so proud of it. So it was a knit purl, like ribbing on the sides, and then in the center, it was like a cabled pattern that just
Mm-hmm.
crisscrossed. And then on the sides, I actually incorporated crochet into it. I put a shell border, and then I did like a tassel fringe on each of the shells for the bottom, and I made it in like a tan acrylic yarn that had a sheen, and I made that when I was 8. I haven't made too many knit projects, but I was really proud of that one. So I can knit, but I don't do it quite as often as I crochet, because I find that you can kind of replicate knit items with crochet, whether that's making Fair Isle using the waistcoat stitch, or whether that's just making crochet versions of knit projects, but you can't really do that the other way around. And then
Very sure.
to answer your other question about my hobbies and other pastimes besides crochet, before I really enjoyed crochet, but as I've gone into high school, I found that I've really begun to expand and enjoy so many other things as well. And I found that I've really begun to read more. And the last book I read was Brave New World by Aldous Huxley. and I really like the themes in that book. Uh, they're really relevant to the modern world, I think,
Yeah.
and I really appreciated that book. And I also have enjoyed woodworking. I recently finished in a course at school an Adirondack chair, and I brought that home, and my mom really liked that. I gave it to her as a gift, and I'm also making another surprise item, and I'm working on a cutting board right now. I'm gonna also be
Mhm.
giving that to my mom. She hasn't seen that yet. And then another thing I'm doing is Civil Air Patrol, and that is a volunteer organization where we wear our nation's Air Force uniforms, and then we do things that help out our community. Like, for
Mhm.
instance, we recently had a Memorial Day to honor our fallen soldiers, and we had a parade for them, for example.
Mhm. That's pretty, like, I mean, pretty impressive. Also to balance all of those things with school, with crochet. Um, so yeah, very, very, very cool, very fascinating. Also, the different aspects of something more crafty and something that's just a bit more community based, I suppose. Although you turned your crafting into a community based activity as well with Jonah's hands, so I think it works. And I can see a lot of people in the chat also saying you're a big inspiration to them. Um, so with crochet, which is, I think, the thing that brought Hobbii and you together. Um, how did you go from initially just when you started to learn how to crochet? How did you turn that into designing your own works? What was the sort of jump off point for you there?
So initially, I started off by just following the pattern. Like for that first dishcloth, of course, I would just follow the tutorial. And then I started just to tweak items. Like maybe just do it in the back loop, or just add a little bit of a special border with a reverse single crochet. And then I would get to the point where I was tweaking items so much that it didn't look anything like the original pattern. And then at some point, I would look at an item and then I would make so many tweaks in my head to it that it would look so different that it was my own design. And then I would just eventually get to the point that I have my own designs right off the bat. It was like that evolution of making your own tweaks to the point where you make your own designs in your head.
Yeah. I can see a lot of people are relating to the sort of freestyling element of like just one little thing, two little things, and suddenly it's an entirely different thing. I can see a lot of people in the chat also agreeing with that sentiment very much. I think it's something that as you advance naturally in as a crafter, you get to that point, right, where you just feel like making things just slightly more your own or just a little bit more you, and then suddenly, before you know it, you have something that is entirely just you. Um,
Yeah, definitely. It's like that. It's the fiber freedom. It's just
yeah,
the ability to do what you want with your project.
fiber freedom. I'm gonna steal that. I'm gonna steal that phrase from you. I'm gonna start using that in the future. That's actually a brilliant way to see it, to put it. Um, what, like, with your more current designs, or actually your whole design process, where do you take your inspiration from? What is it? Is it the yarn itself, or is it, do you have something in mind? Where do you draw your inspiration?
Well, when I'm consulting my mom, she has a really good sense of fashion, so lots of times it's what she sees when she's in big cities and stores, and then I like to, get inspiration from the clothing items there. And then lots of times it's from the season, of course, because lately I've been using a lot of summer yarns, like sport weights that use linen and cotton and a little bit of silk as well. And then it's also just the way that those past two blend together, like the item itself, and then of course the season, and then also what stitch I want to use and who it's for.
So a mixture of sort of your current surroundings plus the intended recipient. Do you make Who do you make sort of the most things for? Is it your mom or your family, or do you have or just, yeah, who's the most common recipient?
Well, when I was younger, it used to be pretty much entirely my mom, but then she was like, you make me so many items. You have to spread the wealth. Um, and now I've gotten to the point where, just recently, you guys should have to go check it out on my Instagram page. I just made an item for my brother that my mom put together the video of, and she did a fantastic job. So make sure to leave a like and a comment. Um, and it turned out really, really well. And my brother really liked it. And it actually used hobby yarn too. And it was the olivin and the Friends cotton silk.
Oh,
Um,
lovely.
yeah. But I made items for my sister, dad as well, and all sorts of different people. So that's one of the great parts about the crocheting and knitting community is that your items are meant to be shared usually.
Yeah, very true. And you never run out of possible gifts you can give for Christmas or birthdays because worst case you can always make it yourself.
Yes, definitely.
Um, you've already now mentioned a few yarns that you enjoy working with. Do you have a particular type of fiber that's your favorite, or a size that's your favorite? Do you have one yarn that you kind of gravitate more than others, or or do you like to spread the love around when it comes to the yarn as well?
I really do like using all yarns, but it really depends on the season. Like right now, you're probably not gonna find me using yarns that are in the 5 and 6 category or 7 category, or even really a 4 category. I'm gonna stick to the 3 and below. Like for example, on the project I'm creating right now, I'm using both 1 and 2 weight yarns.
So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I always joke about this on our live streams because if it's smaller than a 4.5 millimeter hook, I usually don't go for it just because I want the fast results. So I'm always incredibly impressed, especially with summer makes. I'm always so impressed with the fine weight categories because yeah, I look at it and I aspire to be you one day, basically, where I can just go seasonal completely with my makes. One day. But I guess we all have challenges to overcome with crocheting. And this is actually a question that was submitted prior to the stream from one of our lovely followers. And they wanted to know about sort of a very challenging make. Has there been like a big crochet challenge that you've had to overcome? And how did you manage?
Well, lots of times, despite the fact that it seems like when you are really good at crochet that nothing really gets in your way as a crocheter. But that's not true. There's been a lot of projects that have been really difficult for me, but whether that's taking a break and coming back and trying it again later, I've had to do that. But here's an example that wasn't difficult because it was hard to understand. It was difficult because of the amount of time it took. So I was about 8 years old, and it was the winter time. So it's not like didn't have an excess of time. I made over 800 to 900 individual flowers that were about this big,
Whoa.
and then I sewed all of them together. But the reason it took so long was because I was a big procrastinator, and I only did like 3 to 4 a day. And at that rate, I wasn't going to get it done in the wintertime. And I was just having this big blanket just sitting here on my desk, and it was not going anywhere. So I needed just to persist and use perseverance to get it done. And as an 8-year-old, that was a pretty big project, in my opinion.
I would agree. I'm not sure if I, as a 31-year-old, would be able to do it because, yeah, procrastination and crochet don't always go that well together, do they? Especially if you have some kind of deadline or you intend to gift it to someone for an occasion. Um, do you have sort of a favorite type of project that you like to work on? Do you like those really big, challenging ones, or do you prefer maybe something that has a bit more of a sort of end in sight? What's your philosophy there?
What I like doing is I like having a really big project. For example, I have this doily that I'm working on, and I've been working on it for a while now. Um, so I actually started it maybe a year ago, and then I stopped working on it because I got caught up in a lot of other projects. And then I kept working on it because what I usually do is I only work on it when I'm traveling somewhere on a plane. And right now I'm on approximately row 86 of the doily, and maybe there's 143 rows, I think. And it's going to be 40 inches in diameter. And but what I prefer to do is have a large project like that that's going to take me a significant amount of time, and then a project that's like a summer top that won't take me too long, maybe 2 weeks. And then if we're just going to go in the car for a quick car ride to go get something to eat, I'll just grab some quick yarn that I can make a baby blanket with or something.
That actually kind of already almost answered my next question, because we also had a follower submitted question, and they wanted to know if you always have multiple projects in the works, or if you are just so fast, because of course, if you've anyone who's followed you for a long time will see that you have quite an astounding sort of output of projects sometimes, and so they just wanted to know, is it, yeah. But I think the answer is both, I suppose, because you are also a very fast crocheter, are you not?
Well, I'm a pretty fast crocheter, but it's more because when I do crochet, um it's just because it just happens naturally. Like for example, if we're watching a movie as a family, I'll just go and sit by, my older brother and my dad, and we'll just watch the latest movie, and I'll just sit there and I'll just be crocheting and talking to them and watching, and all of a sudden I'll look down and there'll be like half of a baby blanket there. So it's not even like I'm paying attention. It just happens.
That's amazing. I wish I had that kind of. I still have to count very very diligently for my makes, but I suppose I have a few. You have a few years of crocheting on me, so for sure I think that'll come with practice. Um, uh, Another question that came up also from our followers was what happens with your creations? Do you also sell some of them? Because I
Yes.
think people were very keen to buy something from you.
Yeah, so on my website, jonahhands.com, I do sell my items. Just a heads up before everyone is looking for them. You can go look for them. There won't be too many available. But there are quite a few, just a heads up.
um, Amazing. Okay, I'm trying to see if there were a few questions on the chat that I'm going to note down for later. So if you've asked a question on the chat, don't worry, we're not ignoring you. We will get to you in a few minutes. Before that, I think since this is very much sort of your introduction, Jonah, to the Hopster community, and maybe for some people in the Hobbii community, it's also their introduction to you. Like I said in my intro, this collaboration genuinely had the office a buzz. There was so much excitement about it, and there are some really cool things to come. Some of them we can kind of tease now, and some of them I think will be revealed later on. But I think I'll give this to you as well. Like, what can people expect from Hobbii and you in collaboration, in partners in crochet?
Well, I am so glad to have the opportunity to work with Hobbii because there are so many yarns that Hobbii has that I've never had the honor of working with, including all their summer yarns, whether that's their Pearly Haze or all their Friends matches that go so well together. And I actually kind of want to show you guys a little sneak peek of a project that I'm working on, just a little bit. So I can't show you too much, so I'm going to fold it up here. So what I'm doing is I'm using a fretwork stitch. Um,
Oh,
and it's going to be made into a summer item, and this is part of it. And then I'm gonna have to fold this part up too, so that it's still a surprise when you guys see what it actually will look like. And then here's another part of it,
oh, that's so nice.
and then it has like a bobble chevron pattern in there too.
I can't
And
can't wait to see the finished result. We'll be very patient.
yeah, so that uses the cotton linen and the 8-4. So I've really been enjoying using the lighter weight yarns, and then I'll be continuing to make my own designs because I've already made that Chicago bobble cardigan, and the pattern will be coming out pretty soon, in the beginning of June, and then the pattern for the pattern for the cardigan or top that I put up on my Instagram today will be coming soon. and then you'll have some more patterns from me soon as
Yeah.
well.
It's really exciting. And if you watching now are really excited about this collaboration, as this sort of live stream was more to introduce you to Jonah and Jonah to you, we will have another live stream coming up in 3 weeks' time. So on the 3 weeks, 4 weeks, on the
29.
29th. On the 29th of June, where we will dive a little bit deeper into the designs themselves and into the actual design process or the designs that some of which will be revealed by then. So right now, this is just the little teaser that we were able to give. But you already kind of answered my next question, at least partially, which Hobbii yarns you've tried or which ones you've enjoyed a lot. So it's been mostly the summer yarns so far, I take it?
Yes, but I've also used the udon, and I really like that because it's like a roving yarn that I'm familiar with roving yarns, but never that big because when it's that large of a roving, it has a completely different look than everything I've used before. Despite that not being a summer yarn, but I did make that before it really hit the summer season. And if I look back here, um, I also really enjoyed. Didn't make anything with the pearly haze up there,
Mm-hmm.
but I love the more subtle and muted color tones. They're absolutely beautiful, and the chainette construction. I really enjoy that. Let's see here. Oh, I did. I made a top using the glitter delight, and I really like how that turned out. Let's see. And then over there, you can't see it, but I made another project that uses a variety of different colors of the Cotton 8-4.
Nice. That's also amazing because it has that big palette, so
Yeah,
it lends itself very naturally to anything you want to make with a huge variety of colors. It's absolutely awesome. Yeah, well, I suppose it's hard to pick a favorite, and you've already mentioned so many. Do you have sort of a current favorite, out either out of Hobbii yarns or any yarn that you're
ooh,
just right now is sort of your top runner?
that is a really tough one. I might, hmm, I might have to go with the Oliphant. I just love the way that it's kind of
Yeah,
marbled just a little bit, because when you crochet it together, it's not too like twisted and marbled. It's just it's like
yeah,
perfect.
and it is perfect for summer. It is that like perfect combination that you want out
Yeah.
of a summer yarn, I think. So I'm also very keen on it. I haven't tried it yet, so you have that you have a head start there because I still have to finish my other makes before I pick up something new. Um, so as we said, you've already made the Chicago bobble cardigan pattern that is going to come very, very soon, which is made in udon. So not super summery, although you never know. On a cold summer's night, you'll be very glad for a nice chunky cardigan. Um, yeah, do you have a few more patterns for us in the works? So I think if people are curious about that, everyone in the chat, if you're very curious about those, we will dive deeper into those on our next live on the 29th. And I've seen a lot of people on the chat also kind of uh, good for this conversation asking generally what's your philosophy when it comes to color work? Do you prefer to spice your projects up by doing a lot of color changes, or do you like to go for the more sort of intricate stitching? Like, are you more of a I'm trying to do a cool stitch, or are you more of a I'm trying to go for like cool color effects?
I do both. I'll take a look at my current projects. So, for example, the the Chicago bobble cardigan, I did. I'll say I did both. For the bobbles on the arm right here, it was a alternating, contrasting color bobble. So I think that incorporates both. And then the balloon cuff was a yarn over slip stitch in the back loop with the contrasting color. Um, and then the item over there that uses all the different colors, it's done in a unique way that you probably haven't seen before. That's not actually crochet. The base of the item's crochet, but all the other accenting colors are not crochet.
Hmm.
Um, and then this item incorporates more stitching. So really, there's a variety. So whatever one you like, there'll be something for you. So don't worry. I've got all of you covered.
Nice. You're true. Yeah, multifaceted crocheter or crochet designer in that regard. There are some people wondering when you crochet following a pattern, do you do you have like a very good memory for the pattern, or do you have to kind of check it row by row if it's a new project?
What I usually do is I sit down and I follow the pattern for the first whatever, first chunk, and then I get to the point where I kind of have it memorized just inherently, and then I'm able to step away from it and just work on it independently. But I always go back and check because I never want to have to frog too much of my
Yeah,
work. Even though I know I can
understandable.
just work it back up, it's just it never feels great when you have to tear up all that
Yeah,
crochet.
absolutely. I right there with you. There was another question asking how you taught yourself to, well, look up while crocheting, like if you're looking towards the camera or mirror, or just if you're not looking straight up on your crocheting, is that just, I assume, practice? Or did you specifically practice that skill?
No, so I feel like it was muscle memory. So what happens is, so my left hand that holds the yarn, since it goes around the index finger, my thumb is able to feel where the next stitch is. Or if I'm skipping stitches, it just naturally like glides over, and it counts by itself, like without my brain doing it, where the third stitch is if I'm skipping two, and then my hook just knows where to go.
Yeah,
Like it doesn't really have to do it because it just knows where the next spaces are.
yeah. I mean, I think, yeah, it comes with the years that you've made it, I think, right? And then also the fact that you do now obviously produce content as well. So you kind of, I guess, naturally kind of try to also look up, like you have a reason to look up basically, or if you're watching a movie, even like there is something else to see. So I think it makes sense that that kind of comes naturally over time. We've had another question asking if you've ever made costumes.
Um, well, let's see here. Do dog costumes count? Because I made my dog some
I
costumes. Like
think they do.
for example, my one of my dogs, Mrs. Beasley, she had a birthday party recently, and I made her like a little princess dress that had like four cute pink ruffles on the back, and I think that pretty much counts.
I mean, I think it does. I love the idea that if you are a creative, a crafty person, and if you are a fast crocheter, which I know you are, that you can always make something in a pinch. Like if you do need a Halloween costume last minute, you can always figure out something quick to crochet, which I think is a brilliant facet of this hobby, or generally of being a crafty person. I think just the fact that whenever you want, you can just make yourself something for the occasion.
Exactly. Yes, that is. It's just so helpful and it comes in so handy.
It comes back to the fiber freedom, I suppose. Like it's a different facet of it.
Very much
I'm
so.
trying to see. I'm trying to see if there were more questions that I missed. I know there were a few more questions that I think we've answered already throughout the live in terms of who taught you how to crochet and who inspired you to pick it up. Which, and then yeah, and there was I think the first question I saw was also if you do any knitting, which we've also already answered. So I think if anyone has any more questions for us, maybe put them in the chat now, because of course we would love to talk. I could talk to you for days, but I mean, it is Saturday morning for you as well, and you deserve a lovely day off, especially after all your exams. So I'm just trying to check if there's anyone else. No, I think we may have answered all the questions for now. So, oh, yeah, now there's a few more people, but mostly just saying that they love following your journey and they're very excited for this. Oh, someone asked if you still would like to become a surgeon.
Well, I mean, it's definitely an option, but another thing is, as you get older and you go through high school, you find out that there's so many other roads and so many other journeys and doors that are open for you. So I could also go, into the military first. I could also continue straight off with this craft that I love to do and continue with this platform that my mom and all these other people have already helped me build. Um, so at this point, there's so many other things that I could do, but a
Yeah.
surgeon is a noble occupation and one that is certainly still open.
And yeah, you have your whole you have a lot of time still ahead of you, so it totally makes sense to just see where your road takes you. I'm sure it'll take you somewhere great. And already with what you've done so far with giving back to the community and just inspiring so many people, I'm very sure that yeah, you will find a great path for yourself. This sounds like I'm saying goodbye forever, which I am not, because like I've said before, we will have another chat with Jonah in just 4 short weeks, where we will talk a little bit more about the specific sort of Hobbii and Jonah collaboration, about the designs, and I'm very excited for it. Jonah, thank you so, so much for joining me this morning for you, afternoon for us here in Copenhagen. Thank you. Have a great rest of your weekend. Best wishes to your whole family. I hope that you're going to have a lovely weekend, and see you very soon. Thank you so much to everyone who joined us for this little live stream. This live stream will go up on our Facebook and our Instagram after we are off, so you will get a chance to watch it back, or if you missed the beginning, you can always go back and see what we talked about. And with that, have a great rest of your day, Jonah, and goodbye everyone in the chat. Thank you so much.
Crochet away, everyone.